I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. This time out, Nick DiVirgilio has a wide-ranging interview with Brooks Wackerman, currently the drummer for Avenged Sevenfold, but his past bands include Suicidal Tendencies, Bad Religion, Tenacious D, and many more. They talk about his equipment, as well as growing up in a family of drum virtuosos. Let's get started.
How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here, and my very special guest in studio with me today is Avenged Sevenfold's drummer, Brooks Wackerman. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, man? First time to Sweetwater?
Yeah, amazing facility here.
Welcome. I'm
Thanks
glad
for
you're
having
here.
Me. Yeah.
And you're on tour with Avenged Sevenfold right now. How's the tour going so far?
Fantastic. Yeah, we're about a week in.
Well, that's it. So you just started?
Just started.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so this is my first tour with the band, and couldn't be happier.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll get into all that kind of stuff. Sweetwater's really building ourselves into the drum community. So let's talk a little bit about, who you are and where you come from. Your family lineage in the drumming world is it's really long, and your dad still plays and teaches, right? Obviously your brother Chad, your brother John. Your brother John's not a drummer though, is he?
He is.
He is a drummer too.
Yeah.
So the whole family plays drums.
Very good drummer.
Now, You've probably been asked this question a million times, but what was it like growing up in that family? Did you want to play drums, when you started walking?
I didn't really have a choice.
Did your dad push drums on you?
I would wake up, eat my Captain Crunch, and then play drums.
Got a pair of drumsticks?
And to me, I thought that's what every family did, because that was the norm in our family. So it was never weird. It was never unusual. It's just what we did.
Right.
My dad's a drummer. 3 brothers that are all professional musicians.
Yeah.
So music was very, very featured and prevalent.
Part of the family.
Yeah. So I just kind of fell into it, and luckily loved it enough to continue it and make a career
That's
out of
awesome.
it. Yeah.
You guys all studied with Murray Spivak, and your dad also teaches well. So how did your own style kind of flourish growing up? Did you find yourself into the same kind of music as your father and your brothers, or did you?
Yeah, Chad was obviously, and still is, a heavy influence on my playing. Yeah. As soon as I discovered Zappa, that was the thing. That's when I had direction and was very influenced by music and wanted to learn more about it and get deeper into it. Right. And my dad and mom used to take me to Zappa rehearsals. And Frank actually had me sit in with the band because he thought it was cute that, Chad's 6-year-old brother was able to play a reggae groove. So,
you guys you're pretty far apart in age, aren't you?
We are, yeah. And growing up, all my brothers were moved out. So, I had the studio to myself. Studio meaning garage,
right? Place to play.
Yeah,
everything.
Soundproof.
Right.
Zappa, was it for me, and then I got into Van Halen, Prince, Missing Persons. Once I discovered Bozzio, I used to bother Chad about taking me to Missing Persons concerts, and Bozzio was a huge one for me.
Yeah, and the drumming style that he had playing in Missing Persons was so just totally unique and one of a kind thing, especially.
And even the aesthetic with putting sheets over the drums and not only as a drummer, but just how he presented himself to the music industry was, I thought, very cool.
Pretty
and
unique stuff. Yeah.
But he was the first guy where I heard playing in a pop sense was doing something completely different than any other drummer on the radio. Right. And to me, that spoke volumes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, reading your biography and a lot of the gigs you've had, you started actually making records at a pretty young age, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, Bad for Good was my first legitimate band. We were one of the first bands signed to Interscope. It was us and that Rico Suave guy.
That guy.
Gerardo. Yeah. I don't know where he is now.
And that was the record that you worked with Steve Vai on, right?
Steve produced it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he taught me a great deal. He taught me how to record in the studio, how to play consistently. So, I'm forever indebted to him. And also with his history and,
of course.
I learned quite a bit.
That's great. And now, you've had a lot of really cool rock gigs. How did you fall into that style of music? You played with You had a long stint with Bad Religion, right?
Yeah, 15 years.
You played a little bit with Korn.
Played with Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne, right? I saw that one.
I've done a lot of movie soundtrack work. Worked with Atticus Ross, who's Trent Reznor's right-hand man.
Nice.
I did a project called Something in the Nervous System with Monkey from Korn and Billy from Faith No More.
Right.
And Wes from Limp Bizkit.
Right. Did a little stint with Blink 182, right, for a minute?
I've played with Blink on and off for the last 20 years.
One of my favorites that I saw, and I'm a huge fan, is Tenacious D.
Tenacious D, yeah.
I was playing with Jack Black and those guys.
I love those guys. They're lifelong friends, and I still kind of do gigs, here and there with them. But yeah, in '06, they called me up, and Pick a Destiny was just released, and they were looking for
awesome stuff.
A drummer. But yeah, that just to play those songs and laugh, and
right.
It was the first time live having like a drum solo too, and
right.
I was dressed up as Colonel Sanders, which is a whole other segment.
Other story, right?
Yeah,
different interview.
But yeah, no, it's great fun.
So now playing all these kind of more heavier styled gigs, how did that help you in the Avenged Sevenfold gig? I mean, did it kind of groom you to play and keep up with this style of music and play a whole night's worth of this? It's pretty demanding music to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up and practicing progressive music and metal and rock, even before I got into Bad Religion, I was playing metal drumming.
Right.
I had 2 kicks before I went back to 1, and now I'm back to 2 kicks. Yeah, so it wasn't too much of a shift for me to get into this style just because I grew up listening to it. But yeah, I couldn't ask for a better gig, especially as a drummer, to have a bigger canvas to paint on stylistically. So yeah, it was. I mean, of course, I had to do my homework, and it's very detailed drumming. So a lot of hours in the studio woodshedding away. But now I'm starting to feel like I have my voice, and the comfortability factor is better now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how did you get the gig? How did this gig kind of fall into your lap there?
Well, I first discovered Avenged in 2004 on the Warped Tour.
Okay.
I was on there with Bad Religion.
Okay.
And the bass player of the Vandals, Joe Escalante, said, Brooks, you got to check out this band I just discovered called Avenged Sevenfold. I said, never heard of them, but let's go check them out. So they were playing, I think, at 2:30 in the afternoon on one of the stages, and I was blown away. I was like, there's no other band on this tour that sounds like these guys. The musicality is there. They're all, everyone can play, everyone has chops. And on the Warped Tour, you only get a half an hour to play. So I think they only played 3 songs because each song is about 9 minutes long.
Right.
And so just to see their commitment and detail to songwriting really impressed me. So from then on, we would play festivals together with with my respective bands, and when they were looking for a drummer last year, they called me up and wanted to see if I would be interested.
Great.
So went out to dinner, got together, and it felt right. And at that time, I was kind of opening the door, secretly for something different.
Okay.
I was in Bad Religion for 15 years and was very proud of everything that we did, but I felt like it was time to do something different and open a new chapter.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Learning the parts from the older records of Avenged, you had to, you're taking the chair from lots of great drummers that they've had in the band.
Indeed.
The Rev, Portnoy, lots of guys playing, difficult parts. Did you have to learn this when you're playing the older songs? Did they want you to be really specific with those older parts, or do you kind of give it your own style, your own flair? How do you work those older tracks into the set?
I think I wanted to be very specific with it. I kind of compare it to playing, Smells Like Teen Spirit and not playing.
Yeah. Right.
You got to play it.
Right.
So especially with Jimmy, he had such a distinct sound and a great sense of composition to his playing. And so a lot of those fills make sense to me. It's like, okay, well, if I was writing with that in mind, yeah, I would go there. So I felt like our styles and upbringings were similar in that sense.
Okay.
But right now I am trying to find pockets of where, you know, I could put a little bit more of me in. So it's kind of a balancing act of, you know, honoring all the parts before me and then finding ways to introduce, you know, what I could possibly bring to the table. But
Which I'm sure is a lot.
Well, we'll find out. But so far, so good. But yeah, I've been in this position a lot before, where, you know, most of my past bands are bands that are well established, and you know, I just have to dissect what's been recorded, but then also try and make it my own.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's an ongoing task, and every night I feel like, you know, certain things evolve too into something sometimes special and sometimes not so special.
That's part of the process,
but that's
right?
the joy of being a musician.
Right. I think this would be a good time to make a left turn and talk about the gear you use. You play DW drums, correct?
Correct.
Zildjian cymbals, Evans heads. I forgot what kind of sticks you're using.
Zildjian
sticks, the same as the cymbals,
Super
of course.
5Bs.
And how long have you been playing?
Oh, and
this
pro
gear?
racket drum cases.
Okay, cool.
Too. DW, I've been playing those amazing drums since I was 13.
Okay.
Whenever that was, I'm 39 now. So.
And that brand has a long history with your brother and your family, right?
Chad was one of their very first endorsees.
Yeah.
And John Good used to be Chad's tech,
right.
with Frank Zappa.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a very tight relationship between Don Lombardi, John, myself. So I grew up with those guys and saw their very first factory, which was as big as this studio.
Right.
Yeah, and I call them the Cadillac of drums. They're, you know, whether I'm doing a session or working with Avenged, I can always get the sound that I'm looking for. And the tuning is just so easy.
Yeah.
With I don't have to spend hours on tuning. It's just, you get the timbre and you're on from there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the DW Jazz series, we have a cherry gum kit in Studio A that we use for almost everything.
Yeah.
It sounds great so much of the time. And I'm really spoiled at this gig here, getting to just check out everything new that DW comes out with.
I bet.
The new Purple Heart drum kit that they just made is just
Which
stupendous.
I haven't.
So I mean, and hanging out with John more and more over the years now is just getting to know his mindset and how he creates these things. It's a really special company, so it's got to be a lot of fun to play that gear. Yeah.
And it's nice to work with someone like John who truly cares about his product and what they sound like. And
he lives it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I try and pick his brain incessantly whenever I'm around him, because he's the type of guy that inspires me to you know, want to perfect the tone that I'm trying to achieve.
So what kind of kit are you using on the tour?
So they just made me this mahogany cherry hybrid.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible. Cherry on the outside, mahogany inner.
Yeah.
And it has this amazing combination of warmth and punch that I was looking for. So I went up to the showroom in Oxnard, California, where their factory is, and Garrison, the rep there, had it set up, and he's like, try that set. I got behind it, and I'm like, let's do it.
Cool. Very good.
And then I'm using a brass snare,
Okay.
7x14.
Okay.
I have a pair of octobons to my left that I use throughout the set. Okay. And then all Zildjian cymbals. I'm using a new S Ride 22-inch.
Those are really nice. I like that.
Yeah,
that
real
line of
projective
cymbals,
bell. And a combination of K's and A crashes.
Okay.
And I think a Z 21-inch China
Okay.
to my right.
So you want your cymbals to be kind of loud and be able to kind of cut over guitars? I mean, is that a sound you're looking for?
I want it loud and cutting with the A's, but then I also like to combine it with some warmth with the K's.
Okay.
I don't like it to be that. Right. I like some peaks and valleys with the sonics.
Okay.
So, and then I'm also using 2 effects cymbals, a S trash, and then another one to my left, which is a smaller size. I think 16.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then it's all outfitted with Evans heads.
Yeah.
Right. So what are you using? Coated, clear? What style?
Clear G2s
Okay.
on the toms, an ST coated on the snare, EQ4s on the kicks, and then G1s on the bottoms.
Okay. You've been playing Evans for a long time?
I have, yeah, for about, I want to say at least 12 years now.
Okay.
And yeah, they always deliver.
Do what you need to do, right?
Exactly.
And Zildjian sticks as well.
Zildjian sticks.
Do you have your own model, or you just play a generic kind of size?
I kind of go between my signature model and I actually might be redesigning my signature model because I discovered the Super 5B, which gives me a bit more length.
Right.
So I think I'm going to call Zildjian this week and talk
Say,
to
hey,
them
guys.
about. But yeah, no, I'm proud of my signature one, but I just needed a bit more length. So there'll be a new design in the works.
In the works. Well, I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
So on the live shows, big, loud, you're playing arena, big shows.
Yeah.
Are you on in-ears?
Yes.
And so what's your monitoring system like? You got guitars, heavy riffs, you guys are really tight the way you play together. So how do you monitor everything?
I have a pretty nice blend of everyone.
Okay.
Especially where there's, 4 bars of just, Zach playing, and then there'll be another 4 bars on the next song where, Sinister is playing. So it's important to get a nice mix of everyone, Johnny, M Shadows. And since there is a lot of fast double kick playing in the span, I go more on the high end for the kicks, so they cut through and it's not too subby. And Tom's snare, everything's in.
Okay.
And then actually last night I sweat profusely, and since we have pyro too, I'm just sweating like a crazy person up there. My left ear went out from all the sweat and moisture that got in there. So I highly recommend getting a spare pair of ears, which I had, and my tech had to swap out. Right. So yeah, these are life lessons.
There you go.
On touring.
And is there tracks at all you guys have to play along too? Because you guys have some pretty good orchestrated pieces. Anything you have to follow along, or
Nothing per se, but I mean, we there are quite a bit of string arrangements. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's just us playing. But yeah, there's some
parts.
Where the song will start with a string arrangement. But beyond strings, it's all of us.
You guys just
5 guys playing in a rock and roll band.
There you go. Awesome. All right, so you said that the tour is just a week into it, so you have quite a long stint of gigs coming along. So how much, you have a year in advance kind of in your calendar already? How much
now we do,
this?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have another 2 weeks left on this leg, and then we start back up again on the 1st of January in the UK, and then Europe for 2 months after that. And then I'm going to have to ask my booking agent what we're doing after that. I know we have dates, I'm just drawing a blank.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, a lot of work ahead, but a lot of fun work.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Brooks, thanks so much for coming to Sweetwater today. I know
Thank
you guys
you.
are on your day off, so you're kind of chilling. We appreciate you spending a little bit of time here with us at Sweetwater.
Yeah, this was a nice difference.
And everybody out there, go and see Avenged Sevenfold at a venue near you. You guys are going to be playing a lot coming up soon. So congratulations on the gig, the touring, and much success to you in the future, man.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Great to see you.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with virtuoso drummer Brooks Wackerman. Thanks to Nick DiVirgilio for conducting the interview, and thank you for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute. I'm Mitch Gallagher.